From CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Good morning. I'm Jim DeFede and welcome to Facing South Florida. A happy Mother's Day to all the moms, but especially my mom back in Brooklyn. I love you, Ma. Now stay inside. Okay, we're going to try something a little different on today's show. South Florida boasts many of the best restaurants anywhere in the country, thanks to the talents of some amazing chefs. So I asked 3 of them to join me for a conversation about the future of restaurants in the age of the coronavirus. Michelle Bernstein is a James Beard award-winning chef who has had numerous successful eateries, including Mishi's. Last year, she opened Cafe La Trova in Little Havana. Michael Parola has been described as a chef's chef for his Italian cuisine. 7 years ago, he opened Macchialina on South Beach. And Timon Ballou was the executive chef for Sugarcane before opening his heralded namesake restaurant, Ballou, last year in downtown Miami. As you will hear, the restaurant industry was never easy, but today, it's nearly impossible.
I've always known this, but the realization kind of smacked me in the face when this all happened. Our business is basically broken, right? But it was always kind of broken. So when you really think about the restaurant model per se, it doesn't make sense. As you mentioned, our margins, right? So they're so slim. I mean, if we're making 10 cents on the dollar, we're lucky. All of our money goes to our employees. It goes to the farms. It goes to the fishermen. It goes to purveyors. It goes to the families of the employees, and that's basically it. Why do we do it? Because it's our love. The cooking is probably my first love, right? And we have so much passion for what we do, and these gentlemen obviously can speak to that because they are some of the most passionate people I know, aside from being friends. But so we do it for the emotion. We do it for the satisfaction of seeing other people happy. We don't do it for the money. The franchises have learned how to make money off of this industry, and good for them, but this is not something that we do expecting ourselves to make much profit out of it. And sadly, that's why we are broken, and why we are really broken today, and why a lot of businesses will not come back.
When we opened Macchialina, it was never in the conversation about what we were going to make financially off of it. It was actually a huge pay cut for me personally when I opened Macchialina. It was so that we could do exactly the restaurant that we wanted to do and create the experiences that we wanted to create. In retrospect, maybe I should have listened to my mom and stayed in school. But that's hindsight now. But yeah, I mean, these are just crazy times, and there's no model for this, right? Like everything that worked before doesn't work, and now it's just throw stuff at the wall and hopefully something sticks.
We do this thing, and I guess in retrospect, the reality is, even though the medium is a business, the drive is an art. And art is subjective. So when it comes down to necessity and survival of the fittest, you're trying to see how many people will pay and justify your art as a value. So now, we have to just step back, and the way we approach our businesses has to be shifted into just survival mode. And that's a whole new mindset for a lot of us, because what has made us successful is that artistic part of our trade. And to, like I was telling some friends, to put a peg in a square peg in a round hole is exactly what we're doing right now. And we're trying to put Band-Aids on our operations, but we're not doing it as good as some of the large chain restaurants that have had this model. Some of our, thing, and we cannot compete with the price points. So then we get into a value conversation. Is it, everyone is economically affected by this at this point. Do they see the value in supporting their local restaurant? Can they, even if they're willing to? How many times a week can they support, So we're thrown into a dire situation. We are expected as stewards in our industry to look out for the farmers and the fishermen, as well as our staff. but who's looking out for us as the owners? I know I hear Michelle saying things like, I'm paying out of my own savings account to feed, this local charity. I don't think people realize that. And
let me ask this. Let me just ask a question of all three of you. Have you tried to get loans through the PPP program? Have you been successful? Is it more of a nightmare? Yeah, Michelle.
We were denied the first time, and the second time around we did get the loan. So here's the deal, right? So the PPP loan, and this is made again for larger franchises, right, and big corporations. So you probably know all about the PPP loan, but I'm just going to throw this out there. And I have to be honest with you, in the last 2 months that we've been going through this, I haven't seen much of my husband because he's been on the phone for 10 to 12 hours a day with bankers that we're trying to connect with, because we're not like friendly with our bankers, we're not like, hey, Harry, how's the banking business going? That's not us. We deal with these big banks, and we're not on a, first name basis. But so we finally got it, right? So we're in our first week. The second the money hits your bank account, you have 8 weeks, right, of that loan. So we're down our first week. We have to employ every single employee that will come back that doesn't want to stay on unemployment, which in Little Havana, 90% of my employee is Cuban, who is the worker, right? They want to get back to work. So they all jump back in. So they're all working for me now. I'm not open. I don't know when I'm going to be able to open, right? So so 75% of this money that we got has to go to our employees, right? The other 25% can go to our rent, which, by the way, our landlord is not giving us any type of break in either one of our spots. And then, so I'm supposed to pay for the employment of these individuals, which I'm very happy to do. Trust me, it fills my heart that I can do this. But what happens when we're still not open, right? And the money's gone. And now what? Do I tell these people now they have to go back on unemployment? I'm never going to get them back again if that happens.
We got denied as well the first time, and we just got our loan. And some people are, because it's calculated on a percentage of what you were making, right? So if some people are turning us down because they're going to stay on unemployment, which then is going to in turn make us responsible for paying this money back. So, and we're not open, so regardless of whether it's a free money or 1% or 3%, we're not open. We're not receiving any income. So how are we going to then turn around and pay this money back? I mean, we took the loan, don't get me wrong, and then we'll try and figure it out, slice it up as we can. But
now there are new loans. I don't know if you guys read today. I was just reading I think it was the Times this morning, that they're coming up with new ideas, new loans, new ways of doing this PPP. They haven't gone through yet, but that's all great, and it has to happen quickly, because if not, what's going to happen? We're going to lose the independent restaurant, right? Because the franchises can go on. I can't believe there's not a stimulus for us, considering we're 11 million people out of work right now, and there's a stimulus for the airlines that have 750,000 employees. So, okay, fine. There's no stimulus for us yet. There should be, but there isn't one. There was one written by Rubio, didn't go through. I think it kind of got lost somewhere in the pile of paperwork somewhere. So let's say there's no stimulus for us. We have millions of people that are out of work. What happens to the independent restaurant? If we can't evolve, which these two guys that you're talking to right now have evolved beautifully. I don't know if they're making any money. We're probably all going to lose money in the first 6 months to 8 months if we can hold on that long. But Timon is doing beautiful takeout food, some of the best in the city. Mikey is doing these meals that you can prepare at home with his gorgeous pasta, and that's all great. Is it sustainable? I don't know, you have to ask them. But the thing is, if we don't do something fast, you're going to lose your independent restaurant. And then what are you going to do? You're going to have to go to a huge franchise restaurant every time you want to propose to someone, have a party, celebrate someone's life. We're going to lose it. We're going to lose it just like we lost to retailers. I remember years ago, every small retail artisanal store that we had in Miami Beach was gone because of the larger retailers. Is this what's going to happen to restaurants? But if it does, you better watch out, everyone, because we are a lot of people and we are hungry and we need work. And it's not so easy to jump into another career path.
Each of you in your answers to various questions have touched on, this notion of evolution, how things are going to evolve and change. Can you see what this industry, what your passions are going to look like a year from now?
No.
I got into this industry for a very specific reason, right? To follow my dreams and stuff. And the fast casual thing is not really, so it's just a lot of tough decisions.
Michelle, can you see what the future looks like?
It's pretty foggy right now, Jim. I'm so scared. I've already heard from about 5 friends of mine in different states, and they're not opening back again. It's not worth it. And so what do? Do we become other type of business owners? Do we try to evolve and change the way we ever did business? Do we go into carpentry work? I don't know, but I am so terrified because, so much emotion. Our whole lives, we dreamt of this moment of having restaurants, right? And because of basically a virus from a bat, or whatever you think, however you think it might have come about, is going to destroy us in 51 days. I just, I think we're all still shocked. I'm right now trying to get through homeschooling right now.
Well, I was going to ask, are any of you thinking seriously about not reopening?
I've thought about it.
Have you really?
Yeah, I really have thought about it. To continue on what the other chef said, mine is foggy, and I think we're all in panic mode, and you become frantic, and there's a surge of ideas. And there's some good operators and friends that we talk about that say they're just decompressing and using this time to just stay closed and try to think of a rational strategy. There's others that maybe can't do that, and they just have to try to survive somehow, because we're fighters and we don't want to, like Chef Mike said, it's a blow to the gut and we just want to fight back and open somehow. I don't think anyone's doing great. I think it's
with takeout, you mean?
Yeah, with takeout, or just trying to survive now. And like you said, it is a foggy, it's a hurricane.
So, I mean, I've been working with the mayor, Carlos Jimenez, as well as an amazing group of restaurateurs, trying to come up with guidelines, right, for when we reopen. And those guidelines do not make for a very entertaining evening out as far as what it used to look like, so this is the biggest problem is, right, if and when we do open, and goodness, I hope most of us or all of us can, we are going to have to become police, the way that we have to police people, the way that they enter our restaurants, the way that they act in our restaurants. We can only fill our restaurants 25 to 50% capacity, which it's already hard to make money. People have to wear masks. The food will be delivered with gloves on. You can only come with your family or the group that you're living with to sit at one table. Is that a fun dining experience? I don't know. I'm so desperate to eat other people's food. I'll do anything at this point, but I don't know. The whole experience will change, but we don't know for how long. That's the problem.
I guess I wanted to I saw Michelle's reaction, and I thought she was going to break down there for a second when she heard Chef Tim mention that he might not reopen. I saw a reaction with you as well when you hear someone, one of your colleagues say that, and you can understand it in the midst of this emotion. You don't know up from down right now, but when you hear someone say that, how did that hit you?
I mean, it's heartbreaking, right? Me, I'm a hopeless optimist, which I think we all are. That's why we got into this industry. So I don't know. I always think that it's going to bounce back, but but when? What does that timeline look like, right? Like if we're back in September, okay, and doing a decent amount of our business that we were doing, it's like, okay, we we tightened our belt for the summer and we got through it. Is it December? That's a different story. Is it not going to be till next year? And then you're going to see a lot of restaurants close, right? The longer this goes on, the more you're going to have people just not being able to do it.
You may all have the money to reopen through a stimulus of some sort, but if the customers aren't willing to walk into the restaurants,
Yeah.
and every polling I see say that they're not ready to come back.
I just got this paperwork. Only 1 in 5 restaurants around the country have any confidence that they can reopen their businesses. 1 in 5. That's some dire numbers.
So here's something you can do. Order takeout or delivery from locally owned restaurants and avoid services like Grubhub and Uber Eats because they charge the restaurants huge fees. Instead, see if your local restaurants will deliver. That's a better option. When we come back, the ongoing crisis in the state's unemployment system.